In Blackboard assignment number 13, we're going to be using the information that we learned about in assignment number 12 to work through these 9 problems. And all 9 problems refer to graphing of trig functions, mainly the sine and cosine. So before we begin, I want to make sure that we go through this first problem together just to kind of remember what the 2 examples were like from Blackboard assignment 12. And then you guys can move on through numbers 1 through 9 and work on them for class the next time we meet. In Blackboard assignment 13, we're graphing y equals sine of 4x. A couple things that we want to remember here is that 1, we have a sine function. Our sine functions, if you remember from the characteristics that were talked about in number 12, our sine function always starts at 0, 0 and passes through our origin, which means we will have one maximum and 1 minimum with 3 intercepts in between. We have 3 steps that we always follow when we're graphing trig functions, and those happen to be finding a, b, and the period, finding the intercepts, and then finding the max and min. So to find a, b, and the period, we need to remember back to what the general sine function is. And our general sine function is just like our general cosine function, which has a before our sine and b before our x. So a, in this case, since we have no number in front of sine, is just 1. Our b value in this case is 4. And the period is always found by taking one full circle, which is 360 degrees, and dividing it by our b value, which in this case is 4. So if I take 360 and divide it by 4, I get a period of 90 degrees. Remember, 90 degrees is the maximum in one full period, right? One full period maxes out at 90 degrees. So, a couple different things. Our a value represents our amplitude, which tells you how high and low from our origin our sine function can span. So from our origin, we can only go up to a positive 1, which means we go below that same distance in the negative direction. So our 1 and negative 1 is along our y-axis. Our x-axis is our degrees. And remember, our degrees has 5 quadrantal angles. It has 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. All of which get divided by that b value to scale it down. So we already know what 360 divided by our b value is, so that we know that when this is normally 0, this is normally 90, this is normally 180, this is normally 270, this is normally 360, everything gets scaled by that b value. So we know that 0 divided by 4 is still 0 degrees. 90 divided by 4 is 22.5 degrees. 180 divided by 4 is 45 degrees. 270 divided by 4 is 67.5 degrees. And of course, 360 divided by 4 is obviously the period, which is 90 degrees. We know that we have a sine function here, which starts at 0, 0. It maxes out at the first tick, which is normally 90, but in this case, since it's scaled, it's 22.5. It goes back down through our second unit, bottoms out at our third, and comes back up through our fourth. So this particular sine function will look like this. Step 2 wants you to find the intercepts. The intercepts are where it crosses your x-axis. This first point, my x value is the degree, which is 0 degrees. My y value is 0. My second intercept is at 45 degrees, 0. And our third intercept happens at 90 degrees, 0. Step 3 wants you to find your min and your max. Your maximum happens at 22.5 degrees, and it maxes out at 1 for your sine value. And your minimum bottoms out at 67.5 degrees and -1. So that is how you graph your sine function. Your cosine functions are pretty much the same way. From here on out, you have 9 problems to work on for Blackboard assignment number 13, and so you can make sure you have those ready for when class begins the next time we meet. Email me if you have any questions.